Hey guys, this is Tom Colhue, experimenting with my first try of the new rig, so please let me know if you hate it. Today I want to talk about the challenge put out by Triple H on ESPN for Pat McAfee to have a wrestling match with former NXT champion Adam Cole. Now I'm going to talk about what this match means and why it's been done in this way. Should it, and I'm pretty sure we all know it's going to, happen at Takeover XXX coming up later this month. Firstly, I want to talk about who Pat McAfee is, particularly for those of us outside the US who have no idea and have never heard of this guy. Now, Pat McAfee is most well known for his time in the NFL. Spending most of his career as a punter for the Indianapolis Colts, he had quite a successful career, including a couple of major wins. Since he retired, he's been covering the topic of football for Fox Sports and ESPN. ESPN, of course, is where Triple H made this challenge. Essentially what I'm saying is that Pat McAfee as a football player might be more well known to most American viewers than a lot of the actual wrestlers from NXT are, and that includes Adam Cole. NXT is still relatively within a hardcore wrestling fandom bubble, not that familiar with casual viewers, and that is something that the WWE have been trying to change with appearances from Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks and Bayley, Charlotte Flair, and of course Finn Balor's tenure on NXT since they moved to the USA Network. What this essentially means is that McAfee appeals to casual fandom a lot more, and that brings with it a lot of major mainstream attention. I've discussed in previous videos, when it comes to wrestling websites and wrestling outlets, the WWE aren't that interested in the coverage they get from them. They want sports websites. They want the major websites like the New York Times and the New York Post. They want things like the Washington Post. They want ESPN. They want Fox Sports. They want the BBC over in the UK, they want CNN, they want all of the top networks talking about the WWE, and they couldn't really care less if they've got a small-time wrestling outlet giving them the coverage they require. This is why we see things like the introduction of Tyson Fury and Cain Velasquez on the first SmackDown on Fox, and it is also, to a certain degree, why Brock Lesnar is with the company earning so much. It's also why they keep insisting on bringing back people like The Rock and John Cena, even if maybe just for brief times, and why the McMahons, unfortunate as it may be to a lot of the hardcore fans, are actually draws. There's also something about endorsement, a major sports website or a sports network endorsing the WWE alongside sports like football, like baseball, like hockey. It really does help to create the idea that wrestling is a legitimate sport, and that is something that the WWE have been trying to make happen for a long time. This is also why Mike Tyson back in 1998 was such a huge deal, because he had that crossover value. That's also why a lot of wrestlers, for example Ken Shamrock, will come from that world. Mark Merrow is one of those as well, Baron Corbin is another one. Ronda Rousey is probably the pinnacle and the cream of that crop. A move like this really isn't unusual, and that's not just in WWE. I, as a wrestling journalist, appear on podcasts, and it's roughly the same thing. I, for example, have appeared for the last 2 weeks on the podcast of Wrestling Travel. The reason for this, they have a larger audience than me, whereas I can offer them more in-depth analysis of wrestling. We combine the two, and we introduce each other to brand new audiences and potentially promote to those eyes as well. This is how you gain new viewership, even though it might not be the viewership you already have, and you may accidentally end up alienating those fans. The biggest thing to take note of here is the fact that this says blatantly that NXT is starting to follow the Raw and SmackDown model of appealing to casual fans more than their hardcore fan base. News from a number of sources indicate that a large part of this is down to Vince McMahon starting to get more involved with NXT, because now he has more time to actually think and focus on all of the different things because of the current pandemic limiting the amount of shows of any kind that they are able to do. He is now looking at everything, and this is a sign that he is at least slightly more involved than he has been in the past. Additionally, I've spoken at length about the fact that the Undisputed Era have not all been convinced to leave NXT and be called up as was the original plan. There is still some convincing to do. This gives Adam Cole and the Undisputed Era something to do heading into TakeOver now that they are no longer around that NXT Championship picture. We still get Adam Cole on a TakeOver, and if you're a big fan of him, that may be reason enough. Subscribe for more exclusive information and in-depth analysis like that. Like the video if you have enjoyed it. I've been Tom Colahue, and thank you for joining me.